Hello, everybody. It's Graham Coath with another MyMusic. It's wonderful to be back yet again. Second time this week that I've been back on the Tuesday, and it's 12:30, which means one thing: you've got to have something to drink. Something a little. You got something there?
I have,
Yeah,
yes.
absolutely. Perfect. I'm now off the caffeine and onto something a little bit more herbal. Not in that sense though. And I was being asked by my special guest today, what's the dog like? There he is. Just so for all those people that are listening to this in Spotify, that's what he looks like. So there you go. His name's Trooper, and he's named after the Iron Maiden beer. But we'll come back and we'll talk to my special guest, Minerva, in a minute after this.
I need to get going, Mel. See you later.
Hello, we're back.
Hello.
We're back. Now, am I saying your name right? How do you pronounce your name?
It's Minerva Daisy. You were saying it right.
Right. Okay. So where's that name come from? Other than your mum and dad, who probably gave it to you. Where?
Yeah. A lot of people ask me this question because they don't think it's my real name, but it is. But everybody calls me Minnie as a nickname. So a lot of people, when I was younger, didn't know that was my name.
Yeah. I was assuming it was your real name, but just where does it originate from?
It's the Roman goddess of wisdom, war, and the arts. Not that I have much wisdom to pass on, but
but you've got the arts bit.
I've got that bit nailed, I think, at times.
Yeah, there you go. That's lovely. Were your parents into music?
Yeah, my dad's a singer-songwriter, and
cool.
My mum has a big love for music, and she's very creative. She's a seamstress.
Oh. What does she seam?
She's made lots.
Is that the term?
Sew or seam, whatever.
Sew. Yeah. What does she sew?
She's made wedding dresses, couture dresses, and blinds and pillowcases, all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
Ooh. So if I'm ever in need of that, I shall know where to come to. What is your first experience of music? Where did it start for you? Your love of music?
I think I've always loved music. I always used to perform in front of my grandma's friends and stuff whenever we were out together, and I think I really started to fall in love with it when I first started playing piano when I was about 6 or 7. There was a piano in an old house that we'd just moved into that had just been left there, and I fell in love with it. Yeah.
Was it in tune? Did you, or was it? Did that not matter? It was in tune.
Surprisingly in tune, yeah.
Oh, right, that's quite unusual, isn't it? Quite often, I think first pianos that I came across when I was young, there was always a bit of the piano that wasn't quite in tune. It was normally towards the higher end. It was suddenly sort of seemed a bit kind of weak and tinny and whatever. But yeah, that was good then. And I did ask this question with my guest yesterday. Were you immediately into both hands on the piano, or were you more of a sort of plonk it out with the right hand to begin with?
I don't know. I can't really remember. I think I was a plonk it out with the right hand to begin with kind of gal.
Yeah. Yeah. Find those little melodies and sort of put them down. Did you have an ear? Did you discover that you had an ear from when playing the piano? Could you actually pick out tunes quite easily?
Yeah, I really struggle with sight reading, and so learning by ear was always the way that I would go, and then memorizing.
I struggle with sight reading so much. When I was a kid, they made me play recorder at school. I don't know whether have you ever been made to play an instrument?
Yeah, recorder at school.
Oh, wasn't it dreadful? I ended up miming, because there was this bunch of really confident girls around me who could actually play. and I just thought, you know, and I got so nervous about it as well because it's just I couldn't like read the notes quick enough. So in the end, it's just thought, actually, they're making so much noise. Why bother? Just look confident. Just look confident. You know. Okay. So yeah, you didn't particularly like Recorder as well. London's Burning. I mean, how many times can you listen to London's Burning before you lose your mind?
Yeah, I can't imagine how the teachers felt.
Year in, year out, having to teach London's Burning. And it's just, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. What did you first start listening to music-wise?
My first memory of listening to things, I remember listening to ABBA in my grandma's car and opera music. And then
those are two good,
very different as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there was Bjork. Yeah, and Muse and Nirvana from my mum and my dad.
Wow.
Yeah, big range.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Who was into Bjork?
My mum.
Was that your mum?
Yeah, she's really into it.
Oh, that's fantastic. And Bjork's, you know, not just got a very interesting voice, really manages to use her voice as an instrument.
Yeah. 100%.
But also some of her arrangement is really interesting. Yes. Did that spark you in terms of creativity? Is she someone you admire?
I think probably a lot of the musicians that my parents would listen to really influenced me, especially like Etta James and Nina Simone, all those big powerful vocals all the time. I love them.
Because you've got a big voice.
For a small person, I have, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, you know, did that take a little while to develop into your voice?
Yeah, it did. I've got a recording of me when I'm about, just say 8 or 9. I did a little CD for my grandparents for Christmas. And you can hear I'm trying to hit the notes, the big notes, but it's still very soft. I think it took about 4 or 5 years to develop into what it is now, for definite.
Yeah. Did you have singing lessons in that time? Or
I went to choir and then
that's a singing lesson in itself, isn't it?
Yeah. I never had specific singing lessons though until I came to university, and I've learnt more about techniques and looking after your voice, which is a lesson in itself.
Cool. So you're at university now?
Yes.
Yeah. What are you studying? Are you studying music, or are you studying something else?
Yes, I'm studying vocals at BIM in Manchester, so the British and Irish Institute of Music. Yeah.
Does that? I mean, what's actually involved in studying vocals for all of us that, you know, did university years ago before you could do all of these wonderful courses?
A lot of people ask me this question as well, because when you think, how can you do a degree on your voice? It is odd. You learn all about how your voice works, how to maintain it, different vocal exercises that can help you in not breaking or straining your voice. The other part of it, which is music history and doing all your assignments and working with a band, stuff like that.
Wow. Music history. Who doesn't love a bit of music history? So you're learning about lots of different musicians from the past, etc. Within your course, as you learn about them, are there some that you've been really turned on to in terms of, oh wow, that's just fantastic, that's amazing?
Carole King. I kind of last year started listening to a lot of Carole King because of my university. Fell in love with the music, honestly.
Yeah. Well, who wouldn't? I mean, you know, hands up, who hasn't got a copy of Tapestry in their record collection somewhere? You know, I mean, that's almost a perfect album, I would say. If there was somewhere close to being a perfect album, Tapestry would probably be up there for a lot of people. In terms of actually songwriting, when did that start for you?
14. I would say 14. I was writing stuff before that, but it was just little things that I'd come up with But 14 was when I really started to tune into it and work on it more, I think.
Yeah.
So about 6 years ago now, almost 7.
And have you been writing throughout the pandemic period? I mean, like a lot of people, it's been no one wants to particularly write about it, but it's had an influence on people, and certainly with musicians as well. It seems to have been a period of massive creative outpouring. Has that been the same for you?
I had a really bad writer's block for about 1.5 years, I think.
Really?
Yeah. I wasn't able to write anything. And because it had been so long and everything was so crazy, that really stopped me from wanting to try for a long time. But I've only just come back out of it. So I think I'm the stark opposite of a lot of people during lockdown.
All right. What got you out of it? That's the important thing. What was the inspiration to get out of it, or what was the advice that helped you out of it?
My band really helped me because before I started working with the band, I was just writing me and the piano parts. That was it. And so being in a room full of musicians who are passionate about it and want new material, that helped. And always a piece of advice that I found, I can't remember who told me now. I think it was my dad. He said,
Thanks, Dad.
Thanks, Dad. He said, not every song has to be perfect. It doesn't have to be great. You just have to write it, and then you're writing. So I was just writing a chorus, even if I was never going to use it, until something came up and it started that flow back again, I'd say.
Absolutely. It's actually something that we've talked about time and time again on this program as I've talked to different musicians, which is the importance of just carrying on writing, because not everything that you produce is going to be brilliant.
Yeah.
But just keep going at it. Keep putting something out there. Put something down on paper on a daily basis. Getting into habits. I mean, it's the same with, I write copy for people during the day. Right. That's my day job is to produce content for people. Not everything as you go to write it is brilliant on the first time round or whatever, but the really important thing is just to get up every morning and go boom and do it. So I have certain things that I do as a habit now. Like I produce a post every morning at around about 7:30 every morning, and I use a particular mechanism and I do it in a particular way, and I just always do it regardless of how I feel. Or whatever, I always do it. Are you finding that's the same? If you can get into a habit, then that really helps you to.
Yeah, I think so. Getting into the habit of, even if it's just practicing every day, you don't want to do it, but a lot of people do. You practice every day and you get better. So I think getting into a habit, something that you're going to do regardless of how you're feeling, is definitely a good idea if you're dealing with a writer's block as well.
Yeah. Another bit of advice from the great Tom York from Radiohead, which he's passed on to people in the past, like Natasha Khan, is if you get really stuck, do something else in the creative arts.
Yeah.
Paint or draw or something.
Yeah.
Keep being creative, but don't necessarily force it. And who couldn't listen to Tom York? Because he's done that really over the years. So there we go. So talk to me about what you're working on at the moment. So you have a song and it's out there,
Yeah, I've got 3 singles out at the moment and one on the way on the 16th, which is just over a week away.
Woo!
I know, exciting, stressful but exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us about the 3 singles. Tell us about the first one.
Okay, the first one is called Call Me the Criminal. That was released in March 2020, just before the UK went down into their first lockdown. So
great timing.
Yes. It was a bit intense, if you say so.
Yeah. Just for the record, and just to clarify to people out there, the release of this single didn't cause the pandemic. Okay.
I hope not.
Yeah, we just want to get that out there for the record now.
Yeah, I recorded it with my university, some students there. There's loads of production students, so you know we have everybody on hand, and then we released it. And I had no idea what it took to release a song at that point, so it was a big learning curve. You know, even learning about distributors, I didn't even know that was
That's a
major
thing.
part.
You know, that is a thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and all the like making press releases, sending that to blogs, getting a website up and running, all of these different things that I had to learn. And then the pandemic hit the UK. I don't know if that's the right way to say it. And I had all the time in the world to learn. So, you know.
Yeah. So good in a way. Good in a way that it kind of life slowed down a little bit for you. And then single that's out at the moment, and I saw a post of you yesterday getting ever so excited about it being played on, was it Radio Devon?
BBC, it was Radio Derby, which is
the Derby, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Very, very exciting. I always get excited when I hear my song on the radio because it's a weird experience.
Yeah.
That one's coming out on the 16th, and it's called Something Strange. And I wrote it a few years ago now. It's about being cheated on, and it's quite angry. It's like indie rock, pop rock, whereas my other songs have been quite jazzy and smooth and slow.
Yeah.
It's a nice.
It's quite an image for you, isn't it?
Yeah. It's very different, but I love it. I love the song.
Yeah. No, it's a great song. It's a great bit of passion. Tell me, I mean, it had that artwork done as well with, you know, the dagger and everything, you know, the kitchen knife or whatever. I mean, who did that for you?
I did that one myself.
You did that yourself?
Yeah.
So you really have got the art bug.
I gave up on art for a long time. I used to do it all the time in school. But when you get forced to do a 15-hour exam, you kind of lose your passion for it a little bit.
Yeah,
and
of course.
So I bought a graphics tablet when I had one of those. I don't know about you, but sometimes I get hobbies that last about a week. But in that week period, I'll decide to invest. And this was one of those. And me and my partner, who does all my photography for me, we did a photo shoot. But for some reason, the quality of the photos just didn't come out like it normally does. We didn't have time to do another photo shoot, so I was like, sod it, I'm gonna draw it and make a poster. So that's where that came from.
Well, it's amazing.
Thank you.
It's really amazing. Yeah. Well, no, it's great, and you know, it's got that kind of almost airbrush type feel to it, which is tremendous. You know, quite stylistic as well.
Yeah, it was inspired by Alfred Hitchcock and Saul Bass. You know, all the old Hollywood movie posters.
Yeah, quite film noir in that respect, but in color, folks. Just so you know.
Colourful film noir.
Yeah, film noir, but in color. So that's the kind of look, etc. you're going for. So what does the future hold for you? Because you really are at the, you know, that you're at the beginning of your career in a way now. What would you like your career to look like? I
think it's hard to know what I would like from the future because it's always changing, and with the pandemic and everything, like live music going completely down the toilet for a while, I just want to perform around the UK with my band, whether that be supporting other bands or doing our own little tour. That's one big thing we want to do, is break out of Manchester. Even though Manchester.
Now you look like you might be quite fun to watch live. having seen your little videos of, I mean, I love the video of almost singing the other day. Was it Bruno Mars or something?
It was an attempt at Bruno Mars.
Yeah.
After a cup of coffee and a full morning's work, so I was a bit tired.
Yeah. But but you look as though that you could really get into it and
do.
Really and really hold an audience. So is that an important part of it for you?
Yeah, definitely. I love being able to bounce back and forward off the audience. It's been tough though when you're stuck behind a piano for years on your own, and now you're suddenly with a band, and there's
Mm.
people dancing in front of you. So I'm trying more to step out of my comfort zone on a stage and be myself like that in rehearsals. Um, and it's fun. It's really
Yeah,
fun.
yeah.
Yeah.
Have you had any good advice on that from anybody in particular in terms of being the sort of front woman in the band?
I think people just tell me not to, they say, don't give an F. Don't care what
Yeah,
anybody thinks, basically.
well, that's
If
true.
Yeah, if you're on that stage and people are watching you, they're there to watch you, and if they didn't want to, they wouldn't be in the audience. So
Yeah,
do what you want. The worst that can happen is somebody laughs at you, but just laugh along with them, you know?
I always found it, having done it myself, I always found it, really kind of important to feed off the energy of the room
Mm,
as well.
100%, yeah, that too. You can get audiences who don't feel like participating and are kind of in a weird circle all at the back rather than
Yeah,
forward.
that is the most difficult kind of audience, you
When you're like,
know.
"Come forward," and they don't. You're like, "Oh, no."
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and I've, seen some people be really good at trying to pull them back in. A little while ago, I talked to probably, I'm going to say this now about him, probably the best warm-up act on the planet at the moment,
Ooh.
Mr. John Mouse. If you get to go and see John Mouse live, he's fantastic. And he does the whole bit. Theatrics, comes down into the audience,
Mm,
does some dancing, weird stuff in front of people, and really tries to pull people in, which is great.
yeah.
But I think that I think you have to do that. I think you have to learn to those difficult gigs you play where you have to learn to pull an audience in and work an audience in will
Yeah.
pay off with time, because then when you get a really good audience, it just becomes even more magic.
Yeah, definitely. I think, a lot of audiences find it they don't wanna get close to you, since the pandemic has kind of
Or annoyingly, they want to get close to you after the gig to talk to you about your music or whatever. But
mhm.
you feel like saying to them, "Yeah, but when I was playing, why didn't you?"
Where
You
did you
stand,
vibe?
you want, yeah, you want to be this close to me now, but could you not have
Yeah,
done that while I was up there? That would have been
literally.
good, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I get that. I've had it where I'm packing all my equipment down and people then wanna talk to me when I'm doing that, and I'm like,
Yeah,
"Just give me 5 minutes,
yeah.
and I'll come and talk to you," and then by the time they're gone, it's like, "Oh god."
Now, as queer as folk, as they say, yeah, very, very odd indeed. Well,
Mm,
I wish you all the best for the year to come. So, is there a plan to take? You're releasing singles as we go at the moment. Is there a plan to work towards an album at all, or longer?
definitely definitely, I think, but right now we're looking more at an EP and
Cool.
then more single launches and single releases. We've got another one planned for April, I wanna
Yep.
say. And with the band now. So yeah, I think there will be eventually an album, but when that happens, I'm not sure.
Yeah. And in terms of goals for you, sort of short term goals. So it's getting out there, playing gigs, etc.
Yeah.
You know, in the not too distant future, maybe actually getting your music on vinyl and stuff like that. Would you? Is that a goal for you? Actually having like a tangible thing as much as a download, or do you feel happy being in the download then generation? And
I think I have got physical merchandise and I burn and print my own CDs at home, but I still haven't set it up on my website yet for them to be sold. But I'd love to do cassette tapes because
cassette tapes, lovely.
yeah, I learned how to play piano. My piano teacher would give me these cassette tapes, record the lesson on it, and I'd then go home and listen to it back on there. So for me, cassette tapes like a big part of my music life. I'd love to just pass it on like that, I suppose.
I love that. I love that. I love the fact that these older forms of listening are coming back as well. And then, you know, the one thing that I love about things like cassette or vinyl is it forces you to actually listen to everything that's on there.
Yeah,
You know, and I think that's important when people are putting time and effort into it. So there we go. So style wise in the future, you've done a bit of rock now. Are you going to continue to carry on that kind of vein, or shall we see something completely different again from you?
I think with the material that the band and I have conjured up, it's a mixture. It is heavier. We even have one song that's about 3 different genres in one. It goes from like a folk song to a rock song to a halftime ending. So
it's almost progressive.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, but it works. We think, but we'll see. And we have a funky jazzy song. We've got an Etta James song. I think we try not to box ourselves into the genre so much. I think the only reason we need that is for other people to kind of pull us in. But we're definitely indie,
yeah. I you know, at the end of the day, I think genres are disappearing in a way, so even amongst listeners these days. I feel that, you know, once upon a time in the deep mists of music listening, we loved genres because we used to associate ourselves with a particular fashion that was going on at the time, and that fitted into this fashion. But I think a lot of listeners these days are quite just discerning about music full stop, and actually you know, you'll see people that maybe dress in one particular way but actually will listen to all sorts, you know. Whereas back in the day when I was young, you know, someone that was dressed as a goth would listen to goth music, you know. And nowadays, you know, you'll see goths listening to opera. It's not, you know, one's more of a sense of how you dress, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to listen to music in that way as well. So I think that's great.
It's exciting.
Carry on, my friend, carry on. We look forward to seeing some more of you in 2022. Where can people get hold of your material at the moment? You say there's a website, so that's a great place for people to start. And is there a list that they can sign up to so that they get news about you?
There is a mailing list. It just pops up when you head to my website, which is just minervadaisy.co.uk. I had to think about that then. And then you can find me anywhere, really. I'm on all social media platforms. It's just Minerva Daisy again. And Spotify is the same. Or if you don't use Spotify, I use Deezer. You know, it's the same.
Oh, right. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, you know, please, folks, do check out Minerva's latest singles. One coming out very, very soon. Do listen to the music. Do find out a little bit more about her, but do join her mailing list as well, so you get to find out where she's going to be in the country in the year to come. Minerva Daisy, thanks so much for joining me today. Thanks for doing this. I hope it's not been too painful. I'll leave you to cool. I'll leave you to the rest of your day. Thanks so much for coming on. Bye for now.